Absolutely phenomenal morning, guys. This is No Tie Thursday. Somebody forgot, but it's okay. It's okay, right? Listen, guys, I want you to be massively, massively successful. So that's why we're doing the Breakfast with the Brand. That's the purpose of this, right? So you can become massively, massively successful. Add a zero to you, add a zero to your confidence, add a zero to your leadership, and add a zero to your revenue. Bobby Jackson, how you feeling this morning, brother?
Man, I'm feeling good, coach, but I feel like the kid that wore the wrong uniform. Like I'm feeling like, oh my goodness, it was supposed to be pajama Thursdays or something. I showed up in a two-piece. So, but
that's okay. That's okay, guys. Right?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. However, I'm feeling like playoff four quarters. That's what I'm feeling right now. I heard a story about more about Michael Jordan, and there was this young fella, so to speak, and they were playing against these guys. And it was the end of the season, and the team that Jordan was playing against, they had been like 60-0 or something crazy. Like they had just been on fire. And this dude started talking to Michael because Michael Jordan wasn't hitting. He wasn't being Michael. He wasn't really showing up. And he said the wrong thing. Let's just say that. He said the wrong thing. And Michael was like,
I'm familiar. Go ahead. Tell the story. I'm familiar with this.
Oh yeah. That's how you feel, young fella? Like that's,
yeah, I'm familiar.
That's what you
definitely.
Think? And then Michael pretty much became Michael in the fourth quarter. Like
that's right.
For 3 quarters, he was playing. It was the end of the year. It was like he had nothing to prove, so to speak. But the kid just got out of place, lost his place, didn't know who he was talking to, and was just off the rip. And Jordan, I think, dropped like 30 or something crazy, like 20.
Annihilated him.
Like 6 minutes, 10 minutes. It was crazy. So I say that to say this, it's the fourth quarter for a lot of us. It's January 25th, but it's not January 31st. Okay? It's not January 31st. So if
that's right,
invoices are talking to you crazy, or they coming in hot, let them know who you are. Remind them of who you are. Make every hour count, just like Jordan.
Remind them of who you are. And listen, guys, you can make the most money ever as soon as you choose to. As soon as you make the decision. The only reason people have what they have as a result and as a life is because they haven't made a decision yet. It's real simple. When you make a decision, things change. As a matter of fact, watch this. Before we go to the break, I'm going to just say something to you that's going to astound you. Whatever result you have and wherever you're at in your business, in your life, you decided to be right there. There's slow growth and then there's scale. There's incremental growth and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence. Add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaways just from day one is You are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
All right, so let me ask you a question real quick, right? If you are the brand, which you are, why wouldn't you add a zero? Why would you not add a zero? Right? So there's a lot of people that wake up late and they choose not to add a zero. They have massive opportunity in front of them, massive opportunity waiting for them to make the decision, yet they choose not to add the zero. I can remember when I began this voracious, phenomenal escapade that we're on for excellence, right? And I used to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning so that I could get to work at 8. So I had 5 hours for me to add a zero to me. And then I would say to do from 9 to 5 what you have to do for your basic necessities. And then from 5 to 9, or sometimes from 5 to 2 o'clock in the morning, I would add a zero to me so that I wouldn't. So what I had to do would change. And I'd have more opportunity, more value, and could add more into the world and extract more as a result. Most people want the extraction from the world, but they don't want to be an additive. They don't want to add value. They want to extract value without first adding value. And it just never works that way. And this is why people are where they are, because they've made a conscious decision. As a matter of fact, every day you make a conscious decision. So why not make one today to add a zero to your efforts?
Yeah. I wrote down a few things that I was thinking about yesterday, maybe the day before that. And I want to pose this question to you guys. What have you tried to pay someone to do that you haven't learned to do? And that's the question. Because a lot of us, I'll speak for myself, a lot of times I suffer from this because I'm a human being. And what do human beings not like to do? We don't like to do what we don't want to do. That's all of us, right? So for me, I don't really care for email marketing. But no, you know what? My coach told me a story a few times there. He was like, I wrote my own emails and I sent them while I was working at another job, not say on the clock, but like just on my way there, while I was on the train, while I was coming home, like while I was doing different things. I had to do those things manually before I could pay someone to do them. But because I knew how to do them, I knew what I was paying for. And when we say add a zero to your efforts, I can look myself in the mirror because I'm man enough to do it. I've been coached enough to be honest with myself, and I can say there's some things that I've tried to pay to get out of, and I don't have right now the financial wherewithal to do so. Like, you might want to pay to get your book done, and that's doable. People are doing it all the time. But if you don't have monies per se, what you do have is time. If you so choose to use it, you can have time or you can give it away, but that's up to you. Ooh, but if you don't have,
this is huge, man. This is huge. This is huge because I work with entrepreneurs. I work with CEOs. I work with phenomenal business owners, right? And many times they think that they need a team, and they do, but there's levels, and you earn a team, guys. Let me just say that. You earn a team. You don't deserve a team. You earn a team. And the question on the front of the screen is, do you know what success looks like? Because if you don't, you can't hire for it. If you do not know what success looks like, then you can't hire for it, because anyone can come and say that they're doing the job and you don't know whether they're doing it the right way or not. So a lot of you are burning through leads. You're burning relationships. You're burning opportunities because you yourself don't know how to follow up, or you've got someone else who doesn't know how to follow up and you don't know the right way to follow up. So you don't know how to correct them. And you don't even know they're doing it wrong. So you're just like, great job. I see the emails going out. Go ahead, burn through these leads, crush these leads, make these leads block us.
Yeah.
Keep posting and make my reputation worse and worse and worse. You know how you can tell? And I don't have my phone here because I'm doing the technology boundary piece. But when you look at your followers, if they're going down, you're doing something wrong. That's an indication. That's an indication that your leads are going in the wrong direction. If you're reaching out to people and they aren't responding, that's an indication that you're doing something wrong, because your leads and the conversation is going the wrong way. Literally, it's going from you to the world with no response. So you're saying something wrong. And if you're just positioning yourself and you're in the marketplace and leads aren't coming to you, then your brand is off. Write that down. Might be the most important thing you write down today or write down for the past week. If you are present in the marketplace and you are not attractive, if you're not attracting leads magnetically, then your brand is off. But watch this. We live on a planet that constantly moves. Everything is moving. The air is moving. Gravity is moving. If gravity wasn't moving, you'd be floating, right? So everything is moving. Time is moving. So if your business isn't moving forward, it's still moving. It's just moving in the wrong direction. So if you're not attracting, you're repelling. I want you to think about this. Think about this very, very critically, guys. My father said something to me when I was young. He said that it would be better for people to perceive you as a fool. Pay attention to this, because this was over my head. So this was over my head when he said it to me. He said, it would be better for people to perceive you as a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. It took me years to figure that out, Bobby. Mm-hmm. It took me years to figure that out, because I was like, what is he trying to say? He trying to be smart? Like, I really couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out the layers. But he basically said that if you're not right for the marketplace, you don't want to enter the marketplace. Like, you have the ability to attract and you have the ability to repel. And if your business is not where you need it to be, then you're repellent right now. And when you begin to get the brand on, and this is how you know that your brand is on and you're not off brand. When your brand is on, things begin to come to you. People begin to come to you. Opportunities begin to come to you. Revenue begins to come to you. Speaking events begin to come to you. Indications of interest begin to come to you. TV interviews, podcast interviews, all of these things come to you. You don't have to go knocking on doors. It's a huge indication of your brand equity. If you have to go knocking on doors, it's an indication that your brand equity is at a stalemate. It's not moving. Now, money follows movement. So you want to have outbound, but your success can be dictated and measured by how much inbound flow you have.
That was a lot, Coach. That was so deep, because it's like, this resonates on whatever level you're on. You know, I don't think this goes away. It's like you can make 6 figures and feel like you need to attract more, or you're repelling too many. You could be making 7, multiple 7. It doesn't really matter. If the goal of business is to be maximally profitable and to optimize resources, I believe brand management, it should always be a topic of conversation. So that's pretty interesting. and it's in and of itself.
Here's an indication of it. Thank you for that, LaWanda. She says, a great story from a legacy company that relates to leads going in reverse is New Coke. Remember New Coke? They had Coca-Cola. It was bringing people in. They had a tried and true reputation in the marketplace, and then they tried to innovate, and they actually devalued themselves in the marketplace. They did not attract. They thought it was going to be an attractive campaign, but it was actually a repellent campaign. A repellent campaign. They lost money, and because of the wrong idea, they lost people. I want you to think. I want you to think of your brand. I want you to evaluate the movement in the marketplace. Are they coming to you? Are they at a stalemate? Are they just looking at you from a distance like, not yet, not yet? Because money's moving, guys. Money is moving. There's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity for you out here. But if none of it is coming to you, then your brand is off. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just a very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so let me just take one line out of what I said earlier, because I know sometimes it just flies over the head, right? I said, Sean, should I leave my job? So I get a lot of people, you know, that just, they want the fast life. They want the fast life. They want the success. Everybody wants the success. I'm not mad at you at all. You should aspire to the success, but you have to go through a process of earning it. So people come to me all the time. They say, Sean, should I leave my job? And I say, mentally, yes, all day. But if you're not financially stable, definitely not. So I say mentally, yes. Physically, not yet. Not yet. Like the time is not right because you haven't got the brand equity piece up yet. And if you don't have the brand equity up piece, that means you're going to lose your car. You're going to lose your shirt. They say you'll lose your shirt. In this marketplace, if your brand equity is off, you will lose your shirt, your car, everything you came with. everything you can with. You'll put yourself so far in debt because your brand equity is off. You got to start with the right assumptions. You got to start with the right information. The worst thing that you could possibly have when you're starting your business is the wrong information, because what will happen is you'll bust out the gate super energetic, but you'll be running in the wrong direction.
Wow. You know, when you speak on running, this brought something to my mind as we're talking about adding a zero, and we're talking about putting more value into the marketplace so we can extract more out. I was running yesterday and I was doing a 3-mile run. Many of you all know this story by now. I was ejected from the military, from the reserves, because I failed a test. I failed a physical fitness test, right? I use that word ejected on purpose because it's a strong word. You know, it's strong. So I was ejected from military service in that capacity because I failed the physical fitness test. Now, I'm running on the treadmill yesterday because that's what I was training for, and I was cruising, guys. Well, like 4 minutes faster than I did to actually pass. Like I was just moving really, really well. And here's something that I want you to think about. Sometimes you have to speed up to maintain. So what's interesting about running is that if you're running at a set pace, your body starts to get fatigued, your muscles start to ache. But if you speed up, you get more momentum, so it's less stress on the legs. So all you're doing is running faster, so your heart's beating faster. But the actual muscle is working less because you're working a different muscle. So the legs work less, the heart works more. So what's very important about this concept is that when I was feeling fatigued and my legs were hurting, I didn't slow down, because the slower you move, the more thump and pressure and weight the legs feel. But the faster you go, the more momentum you get, the harder the heart works and the less the legs work. So how does this all relate to business? Well, sometimes we can be making the same investment over time, and this could be an investment of money, time, and energy. And what we need to do is increase the investment, not reduce it. And what we tend to do is we tend to reduce the investment. And what actually is happening is we're putting more stress on the already fatigued muscle. So in this case, the fatigued muscle is your knowledge, your information. So most people say, I need ROI, return on investment. But business owners and seasoned wealthy people that I know say ROI is return on information. You need more information, but not regular information. You don't need another course. You need intimacy. You need authenticity. You need closeness. You need the truth. And the truth costs. You know, it costs. So the question really becomes, from this whole analogy, to tie it all together for you, because you might be in a place in your business where you've been making investments, you've been investing time, energy, but you're not growing, you're not expanding, and you're repelling instead of attracting. Maybe the best thing to do right now is to speed up, double down, move the muscle, move the weight from insufficient knowledge to improved information by increasing everything around you, from the people, quality of people, to the books that you're reading, to the entertainment, to your company, and a company you keep. So that's what I received from all of this thus far, adding a zero, and just from, giving you an image of something I was doing yesterday.
Very good. Very good. I wanted to bring up this comment from Joel. He says, exactly, the second half of my PT test run was always faster, and I felt so much better. I had to break a sweat to get into my flow. Break that sweat and pick it up, right? Pick it up. Pick it up. I want everybody to understand. So I always say this: ROI is based on SOI, but there's a duplicity to SOI. There's levels to SOI, right? Just like everything else. So I love what Bobby said with return on information. So return on investment, return on information. However, make that correlational. Because I always say ROI is based on SOI, and that's speed of implementation. But here's another SOI for you. Size of investment. Size of investment. So everybody wants the ROI, but very few people want the SOI. Very few people want the SOI. And this is the difference between going to CUNY or going to Harvard. Please understand me. Size of investment. Both of them are going to get a return on investment. But Deloitte, KPMG, Accenture, and these huge consulting companies don't come to CUNY to recruit. So you can invest $12K or get a free education and say, I'm benefiting. Look at me, I'm winning. I'm not spending that kind of money. What? I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? Why would I spend $100,000 on an MBA? Okay, no problem. Or whatever those numbers may be. They might be, 35. I don't know. But my point is this. If you downsize the investment, you will downsize the return. Because someone could graduate from CUNY, and I'm not saying anything negative against it, because you have to be innovative either way. Sometimes you don't have access. And when you don't have access, what you don't have access to in terms of size of investment, you have to make up for in speed and force of implementation. Many times we try to take it easy, though. See, a person can go to Harvard and know they're going to be recruited. The top recruiters are going to come and they're going to be paid very well as soon as they leave school. As soon as they leave school, it's just the way it's made. It's just the way the system is made. It's just the way the size of the investment determines the outcome and the speed of the outcome. Many people want a fast return, but it's like, okay, what have you put in yet? One of my first things. Good. Okay, you got to define this. Define this. You will get invited to play in the big leagues. Good. I like that. But I do know that the biggest consulting companies come to the big three to recruit. This is the MBA story. And if I'm wrong, correct me. That's perfectly fine. Like, I love discourse, guys. I love it. I welcome it. Right now, there is a way for you to build yourself up in the marketplace, but you have to market yourself. You have to brand yourself. You have to be aggressive. So watch this. If she says no, and I love it, she had to play extremely aggressively in the marketplace to be noticed, which was the speed of implementation, and the force of implementation. Same thing in this marketplace here, guys. A lot of times we don't add the zero, so we play soft and we think we're going to be picked up by the majors. And that's just not the way it works. Everybody wants to be picked up by the majors. Everybody wants the big deal, the 6-figure deals, the 7-figure deals. But you're not moving at the force of implementation, nor are you moving at the size of investment. These are the common indicators. Of course, there's always going to be a curveball. There's always going to be that one slice of difference. You understand? Nothing is 100%. However, if you're dealing with probability, possibility, and percentages, when you raise the force, raise the investment, raise the speed of implementation, then your return predictably is going to be bigger over time. That's factual. That's actual, especially when you're in certain demographics. Numbers are already against you. Opportunities are already against you. So you gotta play the game the way the game is rigged, or you have to circumvent the situation, and you circumvent the situation with innovation and inspiration. And of course, the most important eye of all, implementation. If you're not doing that, then you're playing a small game. You're playing a small game, and this is why you're getting a small return. And this, what we talked about in the very beginning, was brand equity. You have to raise your output to raise your income. Mandatory. Raise your output, add a 0 to it. You can raise your income. You can add a 0 to it. That's predictable. That's an algorithm.
This is such a interesting topic for me personally to listen to this morning, because it makes me think about force, the force of implementation. And it also makes me think about how we determine what going hard is. Like ask yourself this question: how do I know I'm going hard? And I think this is a very important question to ask yourself, because we compare, right? We compare our level of effort based on the images of effort that we have. I remember Sean saying once, and I quote him quite a bit because I've been with him, for so long, and he's like a part of me now. So definitely pay attention to what I've learned and what has resonated with me. Because it could resonate with you. But one thing that he said was, that I held on to, was that he didn't have any images of, so to speak, Black excellence in the leadership space. So he decided to get into that space, the leadership space, and kind of go through this changing of the face of leadership to find people that look like him. So my statement to you is, who is doing what you're doing, or at least moving in the direction that you want to be moving in, aggressively, forcefully, and effectively? And how do you know? Like, these are some interesting questions to ask yourself. And I'll make it even more simple, because I know we like stories. So if my son is growing up in my house and he sees dad being an entrepreneur, in his mind, going hard means 7 days a week, 2 workouts a day, tons of reading, tons of working, tons of grind, staying faithful to your partner, resolving issues. That's what going hard means to him. But if another son, or let's say in an alternate universe, I wasn't an entrepreneur. Let's say I was a employee, and let's say I never got out of the Marine Corps and I stayed. So going hard to that son would be waking up, fighting for the country. Nothing wrong with this, right? Just understand my analogy here. Waking up early, fighting for the country, going hard, and saving money away, living for my pension, and hoping that we can live off of the 20-year retirement. And my son will say, Daddy went hard for 20 years. He was crushing it. He was a killer. And this is nothing against a 20-year retirement. This is just saying that you base your efforts many times off of your examples. And that's one of the things that Keys to the Throne has done for me. It's gotten me close enough to the example of what I'm trying to become for me to say, I'm not going hard. Like, I'm going hard for what I think is hard. But when I look at another person's hard, I'm like, okay. And Sean tells me this all the time. He's like, the only difference between me and you is I started earlier. Like, I'm not like this godlike dude. Like, I'm just a kid from Harlem who God chose. Like, he tells me this all the time. So I just want you guys to think about that. How do you know you're going hard? Because you might be thinking you're going hard, but until you get into a community that's really going hard, like everybody's going hard, like you might think you're going hard and you really playing softball. And that's just a thought. I
love it. And one of the examples of this is the 4-minute mile. The 4-minute mile. Everybody thought they were doing the best. Another example of it is Mount Everest. Mount Everest. Everybody thought they were going hard. And they were climbing as far as they could go, and no one could summit. They couldn't fathom summiting because they never saw the summit. They never experienced the summit. So they're like, oh, we're supposed to stop here. Everybody stops here. If you go past here, you die. Everyone who has gone past here dies. But then somebody didn't die. They summited. And they came back to tell the story. They survived to tell the story. And then everybody summited. And now you can summit. Now you can literally pay to summit something that was impossible and intolerable, weathering conditions that would have, just destroyed you mentally, psychologically, because you couldn't fathom it. That's what's meant by if you can see it and believe it, you can achieve it. Same thing with the 4-minute mile. Nobody thought it was possible, so nobody did it. Nobody dared to do it because it wasn't perceived as being possible until Roger Bannister did it. And once he did it, it gave everybody else permission to really go hard. And now the 4-minute mile is a foregone conclusion. Now the 4-minute mile is a foregone conclusion. Bobby probably runs 4-minute miles in his sleep. Because it's possible. It's been made possible. You've been given permission now to live in your excellence and truly add a zero. A lot of times our pricing comes down to confidence because we're not acquainted with high prices and people who really, really charge high prices. People have a perception of what high prices are until they really experience high prices. And then they're like, oh, wow, that's a number. That's a real number. Same thing with being on a plane and being like, okay, we're flying now. For those who have taken Greyhound, it's like, okay, we're not taking Greyhound anymore. Now we're flying. But there's a difference between being on the plane and in first class. There's a difference between being on the plane and in business class. And you might get to first class and be like, I made it. This is the life. But you haven't flown until you've flown private. There's levels, guys. There's levels. There's being on the line, then there's skipping the line and having the known traveler ID and being able to skip the line and not have to take your shoes off and stuff. And then there's being driven into the tarmac and having the pilot come open your door and say, welcome. You don't have to go through the customs and all that stuff. You have to understand there's levels to business, and that's all we're trying to expose you to. There's different levels to business. There's different levels to excellence. There's different levels to success. And this is the Breakfast with the Brand. There's different levels to branding. Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Sean's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and his love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Sean is the bomb.
I don't talk theory. I don't talk hyperbole. I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Sean Rais. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
So one example, right? If you want to see like the different levels to branding, just go check out the new website, man. Like just go check that out. If you've ever seen my website, the one we had prior to and what we have now, look at the differences. There's different levels to leadership. There's different levels to business. You can be phenomenal. Like you can be crushing it in business, but you're crushing it in business at your perception level. Find higher perceptions of business. Invest in access. Invest in access to higher levels of leadership, and you'll begin by default to open the funnel. So think about a sales funnel and think about a marketing funnel. You got this many leads come in. Out of this many leads that come in, this many qualified leads come in. You set this many appointments. Out of those appointments, this many make it to the appointment, and then this many close. Think about your ideas. Open your mental funnel to let in a different quality and a different level of concept in. And you'll get a different level of content out. You'll get a different level of effort and results out of your efforts. And that's what this is about.
This makes me just think about the value of quality coaching. The value. Like I was on a call with a client this morning, and the call was at 4 a.m.
Let's go.
4
Let's
a.m.
go.
Earth call with a client.
Yeah.
Right. And what I love about it is me and the client had a moment in these wee hours. And I just really want you guys to just think about what value are you providing? Because there's been times where I have called Sean or I hit him and I'm like going down, baby. Like I'm yelling, Mayday, Mayday. This thing is gonna hit a rock. I'm not coming home. Tell my family I love them. And he's like, calm down, calm down. Well, how much fuel you have? Okay, great. What's this? Okay, great. And he kind of gets me there. But what's really powerful is that the call that I had this morning with the client was a perspective call. Like, I need y'all to understand this. Like, perspective, it drives so many things that if you don't control it, if you don't monitor it, if you don't brand you and not what you do, like if you don't really take hold of where you're going and turning your whys into who's, like there's so much that perspective does for your results that I think the value of perspective is something that I really just want you guys to get, because you're coming to the Breakfast with the Brand every morning. And I just don't want you to miss out on the thing, or rather take for granted the thing that's the most valuable. Like, it's not necessarily, oh my goodness. I'll just say it like this, real succinct, and I'm passing it back to Sean. I just really want you guys to get this. Like we say, share this out for a reason. We say come regularly for a reason, but here's the thing. If you keep coming and you keep hearing, and the repetition continues to deepen the impression, it will affect the perspective.
All day.
I'll say that again. If you keep coming and the repetition continues to deepen the impression, it will elevate the perspective. And that's what this is really all about to some degree. Sure, there's so much that Breakfast with the Brand does, but you cannot and will not stay on a course if your mind shifts. And that's what happens if you come here. So if you're going down the wrong course and you don't know it, if you come here, inevitably, unbeknownst to you, you will get a course correction. Simply.
That's default. That's default. That's assimilation. You change your identification from assimilation. You change your ID. And after your ID changes, your IP changes. Once you enhance your ID, you by default enhance your IP. What does that mean? You sit around scholars, you're going to say something scholarly. It's evidence-based. It's contagious. I tell people this all the time, like success is contagious. You just got to get around the right people. You just got to get around the right people. Like success is contagious. High deals, like high ticket, like that's contagious. You just got to get around the right people. Confidence is contagious. Let me give you an example. Now, this was a study. This was a study done by Harvard. They studied successful performers within organizations. They identified the successful performers. Who are the successful performers? Where are they? What do they do? What makes them different? So they determined the things that they do, but that's not what this is about. They determined the things that they do: wake up early, eat right, have a meditation and prayer and a certain kind of life. And most of them, think about ranking offices in government, in military. You have to be married to hold those. So there's certain things that are indicators of success. But what was even more important, after identifying those high performers, is they began to measure the performance of the people who were seated closest to them. Pay very, very close attention. This is in an organizational setting. This is not within a hierarchy. It's not within an org chart. As a matter of fact, if we're looking at an org chart, that's my background: industrial and organizational psychology and organizational development and change. So everything I say to you is evidence-based. It's not my opinion. It's not a whole bunch of rah-rah motivation, something I feel. It's something I know, and it's research and it's evidence. So Google it. High performers within an organization, seated in a place. Success and high performance emanates from them throughout the organization. The further you get away from the most successful high performer, the further the success rate goes down. The further from the target it deviates. There's a standard deviation from high performance, and the standard deviation from high performance is not being around it. When you're around it, you can't help but to become it. The closer you are to it, the faster and the highest effect that it has. Low performers don't even stay. You don't even have to fire low performers.
Yeah.
You don't even have to fire low performers. Low performers will leave on their own accord. This is brand equity. We're still talking about branding. We're still talking about brand efficacy, brand equity, brand elegance. We're still talking about leadership. Low performers will, they'll bow out. Sometimes it'll be gracefully, sometimes it won't be so gracefully, but either way, they'll leave you. They'll leave from your presence. It's almost like the sun. It's almost like the sun, right? So if you stare into the sun, you got to put on shades, like you got to hide your eyes, like you can't stare straight into the sun. But if you become sun-like, then you become a sun in yourself.
Man, it's almost like, how could you not add a zero? It just made itself full circle. That's something that you asked at the beginning of the call. It was, how can you be the brand and not add a zero? The question, I think, is, how can you see the banner and not check it out? Just like type it in, and check it out. Like, how could you not be a little bit curious? What came to my mind was, how could I not level it up? It's so much here that makes us, okay, I'm gonna let that thought pass, because I've learned from past experiences to just let some thoughts pass. I'll say this one. So here's the thing that I feel very strongly about, and it's also evidence-based from my 12 years of military experience. If you set a target and you're serious about achieving it, one of the first things that you do, evidence-based, is you ask people that have done it to help you. That's one of the first things you do. When I wanted to get faster at running, one of the first things I did is I found someone that ran the mile as fast as I wanted to run it, and I asked them to show me how to do it. And this is something that I think is really even more powerful than just asking for the help. What you'll notice is that most of them are willing to do it with you. Here's the thing. Are you willing to stand the heat? And I know we've got about 3 minutes here left, so I'm going to tell a very short story, like 1 minute, 60 seconds, and then, you know, just turn it back over to Sean to close us out here. But I remember there was a guy. His name, I can't remember his name, but I remember his face. Taller dude, had a fro that was a box fro, and he was a staff sergeant, just like me. He was vegan. I remember bunking and rooming with him. He was a very all about the earth. He had organic lotion and all this stuff. Like, he was a very regimented guy. And I was like, hey, how fast do you run? He was like, yeah, I run like an 18-minute 3 mile. This dude's a mover. And I was like, could you help me? He was like, if you really want the help. I said, what do you mean? He says, I'll give you the things to eat. I'll tell you when we're running, and I'll expect you to be there. I said, all right, cool, let's go. I get out there and I'm running with this guy. And as we're running, all HELL breaks loose. My legs are hurting. I can't breathe. My back, I'm like, what are we running at? He's like, oh yeah, this is about 6 minutes right here, boy. We about to hit 5. I'm like, what? 5? Who? Not me. And he's like, yeah, you. And when I'm hurting and I'm breaking down, I have to look at myself as I look at him. I'm hunched over. My legs are hurting and I'm like this. He's like, you good? I'm great. You all right? And that lets me know it's possible. So when people are doing it with you, next to you, and they're telling you what to do and what they did to get there, it's undeniable that you can do it. And that does something for the human spirit, because we have pride and we got ego, and I got faster. End of story.
I think that's going to wrap us up. That's going to wrap us up. Guys, think about what you can do today. All right, I've got it. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. Success in leadership is contagious, but you become the example for other people when you do it. See, Bobby sacrificed himself, and he learned how to keep up. So now other people might not know the guy who was a vegan staff sergeant, might not know the guy with the organic lotion, but they don't need to know him because they know Bobby.